All right, welcome back, mates. Crypto Leverage Trading Group, a little after 9:30 this morning. We're doing a little live commentary here because of what's happening in the market. Obviously, we all know, we've been all paying attention, especially you live here in the States. You know what's going to happen with this current administration. You guys also kind of know, I kind of characterize myself as a libertarian. I've always been on board with cryptocurrency from a libertarian perspective. That's how I approach cryptocurrency, is from the libertarian perspective, not the capitalistic perspective that a lot of other people have. And today's a prime example why. Because you have what's coming out of China again for the fifth or sixth time. You're looking at some political maneuvering, okay? And it's semantics is all it is, okay? So the market is selling down, and currently a little bit before 9 o'clock in that 1 hour stick. You saw Bitcoin, you saw the hard forks Bitcoin, you saw a lot of Ethereum fell 7% to 42.36. I think was the finally the low. Bitcoin fell into the 58,000 zone. Quickly rebounced 2,000 basis points almost here in the last hour. That tells you a lot, okay, right there. But you have to look at the source of what we're talking about, okay? We're not talking about anything specific to projects, right? This is globalism, okay? Global nihilism as well, like coming to fruition. Why should we care what China does? Okay? You should always start that with every question, okay? Well, and the argument will be, previous argument, 2015 to 2021, the significant amount of Bitcoin mining took place in China. Okay. But earlier this year, we saw a transition happen with mining. Okay. Less and less and less Bitcoin is being mined in China because of these crackdowns. It's being moved elsewhere around the globe, which I believe is a good thing, because I don't particularly think it's in anyone's best interest to do business with China. I hate the fact that our stores here in America are not filled with Canadian products, American products, English products, German products, French products, Aussie products, Taiwan products. Those are our allies. China's not our ally. If you're an American citizen and you're buying in abundance, like we all are, we're all guilty of it, okay? Chinese products, you're contributing to that. You're contributing to the behavior of China and what's been going on in China, from anything from human rights violations to all of this stuff, okay? The environment, if you care about, here's the dichotomy of what exists with millennials in the United States, is they're bipolar, okay? Because on the one hand, their global climate change is a major driver of theirs, or focus of theirs, that we need to do something to change the environment, not disputing that. We all need to do better for the environment, okay? But what they're really also doing at the same time is their devices are made in China. Their shoes are made in China. Clothes are made in China. The stuff they're buying in their dorm rooms when they go off to college, okay, that they're buying at big box retailers are made in China. Okay, so the number one offender of climate change is China, followed by India, right? They're the number one. They didn't even attend the recent global climate change event in Scotland. Think about that. So today we have China FUD over Bitcoin mining and its impacts on the environment. The state planner said that they wanted to really focus and address on the impacts of Bitcoin mining on global climate change. Really? These are the people that didn't even attend the Global Climate Summit. You really think they care? It's another political maneuvering to prop up the president, because the president of the United States, whether you like the president of the United States or not, whether you voted for him or not, it's kind of irrelevant now. Okay, he is the president of the United States. His policies can be debated, and they are debated daily on all the political channels. You can watch that all you want. But the impact of China and Russia not going to that summit was a huge black eye on this president. So what's happened now a week later? They're playing face. Okay? He's got egg on his face. China puts out the report, oh, they are being serious about the environment, that they want to like look for the environment, in terms of address environmental needs, right? No, they're not. No, they're not. They're the worst offender. And we are part of that, okay? And that's just the truth, okay? People can say whatever they want, but we buy Chinese products in this country. We offshored our manufacturing base 20 years ago to China, okay? Now, we got a little bit of back in the last 4 years, the last guy as president who decided to take China head on. And people didn't like it, okay? A lot of people in this country didn't like it because a lot of people like China. A lot of people have interest in China. A lot of people have investments in China, especially people who work and live in the town I live in, okay? And they're part of this administration. They have interest in China, okay? Our technology companies. You're only getting a little bit of news of companies pulling out of China recently. The media is not even focusing on that because they don't want the broader audience to understand what is really happening. When is the last time you saw an actual report on any major media station in the United States on China's human rights violations? Okay? It's enslavement, slave labor. Okay? And then at the same time, we have this whole bipolar attitude in the United States with our athletes, especially the National Basketball Association. And people like LeBron James. You have LeBron James, who's probably one of the most well-known individuals in the entire world, spouting off about everything, okay, on Twitter. This week it was the Rittenhouse case, which he knows nothing about. He's not a lawyer, okay? He's not a defense attorney or a prosecutor. He has no idea what he's talking about any more than I do when it comes to the law, okay? We all can watch a video, all right? But I don't understand how a guy whose companies are all fueling China, okay? His shoes made in China, slave labor in China. Those factories emit more issues for global climate change, okay, and impact the environment far more than Bitcoin mining does. I mean, you have to think about this. In our country, we all know and all familiar with the cloud. We all use the cloud, okay? In order to maintain the cloud, what is that really all about? Does the media ever tell you? Do you ever see an investigative report into the cloud, okay? The servers, right? The server farms that are literally propping up everywhere, okay? And the fact that those server farms for Facebook, those server farms for Google, for everything that gets put up into the cloud, all of our information, everything that we save up into the cloud. Do you realize that that uses way more fossil fuel energy than Bitcoin mining? But yet Bitcoin mining gets the black eye. And this is where libertarians like me come in and we're like, whoa, no. Enough with the BS, okay? That's all political, okay? Because if you're serious about climate change and you're serious about the amount of energy being used in order to create Bitcoin, okay, or any type of cryptocurrency, then let's be serious about it. Let's look at apples and apples, okay, and see where we really are. Because on the one hand, we don't mind flooding the environment with all of that stuff when it's coming from, cloud-based endeavors. But it's easy to cherry pick Bitcoin and say, oh, it's the biggest offender, okay? It's not the biggest offender, okay? It's just not. And ask yourself why you're not seeing that report, okay? And that will tell you the answer. Because the answer is Bitcoin's not the biggest offender, okay? Bitcoin miners have been leaving China since early 2021, okay? This isn't an issue, okay? It's an issue for China. But really, for the state planner to come out and for this to impact the market in the way that it's been, again, for the fifth or sixth time, CHINA FUD this year relative to the environment, tells you that it's all political because they're not going to do anything. This is not why they want to crack down on Bitcoin mining, okay? It really isn't. The reason why they want to crack down on Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin and crypto is they can't control it. okay? Even in a communist country, it's like the underground, okay? The same way how revolutions happen, right? The same way how political rebellions happen, right? They can't control it, okay? And in a society, they control everything from speech to labor. And when you have something that you can't control, and the people, and let's talk about the people. China is not like the United States or Canada, okay, or Mexico or England, France, Germany, okay, Spain, Italy, where crypto is extremely, prolific. Why is that? Because the average person in China doesn't have access to crypto, doesn't have a cell phone. Think about that. Like, you don't see reports about that. We're led to believe that everybody in China and America today, because socialism is like, just one step away from communism, and this is what's happening in our country, it's like China's like evidently doing it all right. It's like the progressives in the 70s, right, all traveled to Russia. Bernie Sanders went to, I think, he had his honeymoon in Russia, okay, because it looked to them like the Soviets were on to something. That's what it looked like. In the post-World War II period, it looked like the Soviets were on to something economically, right? Okay? And so you have people in our country that are controlling the strings that really didn't like the Cold War's outcome and the rebalancing of the world. They really didn't. Okay? If you look at and read what they say, okay? And so there are people that are very socialist. And what I mean by that is I don't mean fascist, okay? I mean socialist, okay? On the way to communist, okay? Those are the people that are in bed with China. Those are the people doing business with China, traveling to China. Look at John Kerry, who used to be a senator in the United States. I think he spent more time in China this year than he has in the United States. Why? I mean, what's his role, right? Like, this is why. Meanwhile, their military grows and grows and grows and grows. They use 60 to 65 cents for every dollar that we spend in America on Chinese goods goes to their military. Why? I mean, do they have people flooding their borders? Do they have open borders like the United States? Do they have people flooding their borders that want to go live in China, that they need to defend their country? No. Their military is about control. And it's mostly about control of its own people. And it's about the fear, okay? It's really not necessarily, defensive, okay, in terms of Russia or the United States or Australia, okay, to their south. It's really not. So this Chinese FUD stuff is all just predicated political nonsense. And so the market is tanked short term. Okay, if you look at Bitcoin's down from 68,000 to 58,000. So that's a 10,000 basis point move in like 2 weeks, right? These are buying opportunities. So look at your momentum indicators. Look at your relative strength indicator, your trend indicators. Okay, your MACD. Look at all that. Look at what's happening because of this FUD. You've got Bitcoin falling below a 30 RSI, which it very rarely does. Okay, and every time that it has bounced back to RSI 60, 70, 80, okay? Over, obviously not in a 24-hour period, but in a 7 to 10-day period. Ethereum is the same way. You have Ethereum trading in a relative strength, on the relative strength index of less than 25 on its wick, okay? When Ethereum falls below 30, oftentimes, 8 out of 10 times, it rebounds to RSI 65 to 70. If you're a leverage trader, that's where you want to enter your leverage trades, especially if you're holding your trades for a little bit longer. Look at the perpetual swaps. Look at all the people buying today, okay, if you look at the perpetual swaps, because they understand. If you go back and look, every time we've had Chinese FUD, doesn't matter what it is, okay, it's almost always Bitcoin mining related, okay, if you go back to January 1 all the way forward. Bitcoin takes a hit and then rebounds. Because at the end of the day, all it is FUD, okay? And everybody's going to hit all the retail's hitting the exits. And what's happening to that? Okay, what happens? Okay, institutions start buying. Check out the on-chain activity. Check out the exchange flows. Check out the blocks, the size blocks of purchases in Bitcoin and Ethereum tonight that happened today, and you will see that this Chinese FUD that shook those people out, that caused them to put their Bitcoin back on the market, okay, with a temporary supply bump, right? And that Bitcoin got bought. Because Bitcoin is all about supply. That is what you're trading. You're trading behaviors and you're trading supply. Bitcoin, and I say this to a lot of people who are new to crypto, that really in their life maybe they've invested in stocks, but mostly they've invested in mutual funds, which are pretty much tied to stocks, although some of them have a bond component to them. That Bitcoin and Ethereum are not stocks. They're commodity. Okay? They act more like commodities. So if you want to get an indication of really what's going on in cryptocurrency, look at the commodity markets. Look at gold, look at silver, look at nickel, look at copper, look at pork bellies, look at orange, all that stuff. And how do they react to the economy? How do they react with inflation that America right now is experiencing? Now, if Bitcoin and to a lesser extent crypto, but if Bitcoin is in fact a store of value, is in fact a safe haven, we're going to know in the next 6 months. I firmly believe that. We are going to know in the next 6 months if that's true. Okay? And I say that because of what's happening in the United States right now, in the economy. Everybody's feeling it. It doesn't matter what income. When they talk about taxing the rich, you know who they're talking about? They're talking about people that you'll never meet. You know, you're talking about the celebrity class. They're talking about the elite class, okay, which is not even 5% of our economy, 5% of our population, okay? It's not, okay? And it's all just political speak. That's all it is, to pit people one against the other. And what it really has is we've gone through in the United States in the last 2 years a race, okay, dividing people based on their race and now dividing people based on their wealth. That's socialism, okay? That's what they do because they need conflict in order to be able to provide. So if they take your job away, COVID-19, pass all kinds of wicked mandates, okay, COVID-19, okay? Gas costs more. Gas over $4 a gallon. Milk, bread, 20% higher. Lumber. You want to build a house today in America? Good luck. Okay? Why? Because that house that would have cost you $150,000 to $200,000 2 years ago is now going to cost you $300,000 or $350,000. Why? Lumber is up 300%. Think about that. Americans are going to Lowe's and Home Depot, the two biggest big box stores for home improvement. Go in there and look at what a 2x4 costs versus what a 2x4 cost 2 years ago. And you'll see what I'm talking about. It's ridiculous. It's inflation. And America is now experiencing a rate of inflation that is at its highest level, not in 1 year, not in 3 years, not in 10 years, in 30 years. Highest level in 30 years. Less than 10 months, or 11 months, okay, from a new president taking office. Think about that. That is absolutely mind-boggling. That jobs numbers were here, now they're here, right? COVID numbers are on the rise again. But the other guy was supposed to be the bad guy. The other guy was supposed to be the blame for it all, right? But yet more people in the United States have died of COVID in 2021 than 2020. Now, I'm not blaming anybody, okay? But this is just the truth. This is just things that we need to be honest with each other about. What's happening in Europe now with the spike of COVID is inevitably going to come to the United States. Let's just be honest about it, okay? Boosters aren't going to prevent anything, okay? Bitcoin mining isn't a big issue, right? I believe that the world faces right now. It's inflation. It's the economies of everywhere, right? And yet we're talking about Bitcoin mining on major news networks because of the global climate change impact. Does Bitcoin mining have an impact on the environment? Yes, it does. If you can't admit that, then you're just a partisan hack, okay? Because it does. Everything we do has an impact on the environment, everything. Okay. It's just a matter of how are you going to address it, right? And so, you can look at it from the perspective that, okay, so Bitcoin mining, if you're a Bitcoin holder, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at like, okay, what's the behavior going to be for Bitcoin? Well, if Bitcoin's not being mined, that slows the level of supply. And if the level of supply is slowed, what happens to the price of Bitcoin? What happens to the things that you want to buy that are in high demand? Doesn't matter what it is. Cars. Used cars in the United States right now are through the roof. Far more expensive than they were 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, on balance. Why? Demand. Supply. Less people are trading their cars in. I cannot tell you, this is the honest goodness truth, I cannot tell you how many times that my wife has been contacted about whether or not she would like to trade in her van. Okay. Which happens to be a Honda, Japan. Okay. It's made in Japan or the United States, depending on where it's made. Okay. But they're in demand. She's got a Honda Odyssey. Okay. Macked out, fully loaded Honda Odyssey. Loves it. I cannot tell you how many times dealerships within our area, they know. How do they know? And this is what I talk about people about being a libertarian is how do they know that my wife's driving a Honda Odyssey around? Well, because it's registered. So they have access to that database. It's registered with the state, right? License plate, right? So they know who's driving all these cars, right? Contact information's right there. If you don't think that the state is providing information, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So she get calls all the time. Why? Because their demand is there for Honda Odysseys, right? For families. Okay. Supply's not there. The supply that is there is unbelievably more expensive than what it was 2 years ago. 20, 30, 40% more. Okay. That's how supply and demand work. That's a commodity driven environment. That's crypto, mates. That's all crypto is. If you look at exchange flows, and we talk about exchange flows all the time, as leverage traders, I get that message all the time. Why do you talk about exchange flows so much? What really? I'm not really understand. Like, what does it matter? Well, the reason why it matters is because when I see more people moving their altcoins to exchanges, I don't care about the level, okay, in terms of pricing or current pricing of the altcoin or any of that stuff. I care about the behavior. Okay. So the behavior of an individual moving their Bitcoin or Ethereum to an exchange signals to you their intent to sell. No one moves their money back to an exchange to keep it there. It's uncommon that people that know what they're doing are keeping their Bitcoin on an exchange. Okay. You just don't. There's hundreds of exchanges out there. Okay. You move it off, you put it in cold storage, you put it in storage, some mechanism, you hold it. And then, but when you move it, when you make that intention, when you signal that intention to move your Bitcoin or Ethereum or any altcoin to an exchange, your intention is to sell. You may not sell that second or that, but you're going to sell. Okay. Now the same measure applies to bearishness and bullishness using the exchange flow model. For me as a leverage trader, if I see, like I just saw in the last month, okay, massive amounts of Bitcoin and Ethereum moving off of exchanges, that signals people's intent to hold or hodl, right? Okay. And there's where you get the supply on the exchanges dilemma, because the less amount of supply on those exchanges often brings about volatility. Okay. As a leverage trader, that's the behavior you want to capture. For example, just before 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today. And by the way, I am not your financial advisor. I'm not your accountant. I have no idea what your portfolio looks like. I have no idea what your family's wealth situation and economics of scale are. So please do your own due diligence. Okay. Obviously, cryptocurrency is the most riskiest thing there is. Okay. And so you need to do your own due diligence. Okay. That being said, all right, this morning I looked at it and saw falling levels of relative strength relative to their 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day averages. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is when you look at a chart, stop looking at price, okay? Forget about price. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin is 68,000 or 60,000 today. What you want to look at is the underlying behavior of the particular coin, okay? And its history of behavior, not its history of price, okay? That's where your momentum indicators come into play, is they show you averages of the behavior of the asset, okay? That's all I focus on. Because at the end of the day, that's all you're trading. When you're trading Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, you're trading behavior, okay? You're not trading price. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the price is, okay? It matters what direction, what momentum, okay? Up or down, long or short, okay? That the asset has. So the momentum indicators provide you that. I chart the RSI chart. I don't need to chart the actual chart that technical analysts use. It's not how I trade. That's what's unique about our group and unique about how we view the market. Is I will use the IO map, which is on-chain metrics, okay, in terms of accumulation, which provides you, shows you where the areas in the history of the asset, the highest number of buyers and the highest number of sellers were actually performing that behavior. And it comes in bubbles, green and red bubbles. Okay. It's very easy to see. That correlates to the technical analysts out there who will chart support and resistance levels, right? They almost mirror one another. Okay. If you overlay them. All right. But what's interesting that a lot of people don't use, except for a few. It's more, a smaller group of people, but there are institutional investors, I can assure you, that use this same method, okay, and profit immensely, is they chart the RSI chart. What do I mean by that? You set your support and resistance levels based on the behavior in the RSI, not the above chart. If you see any of my videos, you'll see that's what I show them both so people understand. But for example, Bitcoin got to its local top of 68,000 in this last little run, which supports an overhead resistance level, right? If you go look at its RSI chart, its RSI was about a 92 or 94. Again, before it sold down. That becomes its resistance level on the RSI. So the behavior is we bought Bitcoin up to an RSI level of 92 to 94 before selling down. Bitcoin fell back down. Now Bitcoin is at around 30 RSI. Okay. Which triggers to me an oversold behavior. So what happens after an oversold phenomenon? People buy more. People buy it. They buy the dip, right? And then we start that cycle all the way back up. So charting your RSI provides you an average. If you're doing it correctly, you go back, depending on if you're a swing trader, a scalp trader, a 5, 10, 240 trader. Okay, that's 200. You're going to keep the trade at 5 or 10x leverage for 240 hours. 240 hours is 10 days. So if you're doing a 10-day market timing trade, you're going to go back in 10-day increments on your RSI chart to find the average RSI level. A lot of times you'll find that level is somewhere between 46 and 55. So everything above that 55 zone tends to be overbought, and everything below that level tends to be oversold. Why? Because the average RSI level for that particular asset is in between those two numbers, each time incremental time frame, 10 days, and then 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, right? And so you use that level. So I don't ever, anyone I mentor, anyone I coach, or myself, I don't ever enter a trade without first looking at RSI, ever. It doesn't make any sense. I don't care if FOMO is happening. I'll watch FOMO happening. But FOMO to me is the biggest mistake that the average traders make, is they chase. well above, say, that 55 average, 46 to 55 average. So people are buying. People are buying. If you look today, now you have a significant number of people that bought Bitcoin in the last 3 weeks that are out of the money, okay? Because they bought it 66, 67, 68. And if they've held it and Bitcoin is now 61,000, they're now out of the money. There was a point in the last 3 weeks where there was less than 2% of Bitcoin holders out of the money. Now I bet you it's 10%. Why? Because 13% of people bought Bitcoin in the last 30 days. How do I know that? On-chain metrics. Okay. So if 10 to 13% of new buyers, active addresses, bought Bitcoin in the last 30 days on the blockchain, okay, what's Bitcoin's average price for the last 30 days? Okay, well, we know it was 68,000 and we know it was 58,000 this morning, right? So right there, right smack dab in the middle on basis, 64, 63, 64 is the average. So if you bought below that, okay, but if you bought above that, you're out of the money, right? I mean, that's how it works. And so most of those people that bought at 67 and 68 were buying Bitcoin above 80 RSI. Okay, you're already buying into an overbought behavior. Unless you're a scalper, okay, or a day trader, right? It's very hard. If you're buying and holding, that's not the best time to be entering the market. The best time to enter a market is a market like today, where, okay, there's no assurance that Bitcoin's going to go back up to 60, 62. That's what I think is going to happen within the next 24 hours. Just my opinion. But you're buying at an acceptable, reasonable level, okay, using the RSI. There's no guarantee that it's going to go up. There's no guarantee something's going to go down, right? But I can guarantee you that if Bitcoin got to an RSI level of above 90, I can guarantee you Bitcoin's going down. It's not going to stay at 90 for very long. If you go back and you chart Bitcoin, it's always those FOMO instances where Bitcoin stays at 90 and then dumps. Now, the converse of that, mates, is true as well. On China FUD days, or any kind of FUD, Elon Musk FUD, Joe Biden FUD, terrorist FUD, any kind of FUD, okay, that happens, that's negative in the market, Bitcoin drops to below 30 RSI, doesn't stay there for long, okay, because of the supply. People want to own Bitcoin. Institutions want to own Bitcoin because they have a longer term view. Doesn't matter what's happening in China today. We'll forget about this in a week, okay? What the state planner said today. We'll forget about it. Heck, we forgot about it last spring, last summer, right? We moved on. Other things happen. Other news happens, right? That we focus on. That's human nature. That's why it's all about behavior, okay? And so the interesting trading scenario, I had this conversation with a mate last night that uses Coinbase, and was like, he's like, how can I apply these? I'm not really, I don't leverage trade that much. I have a leverage exchange, but predominantly all of my crypto assets are on Coinbase Pro. And how can I apply some of these on-chain metrics and some of these RSI methods and momentum indicator methods to like on Coinbase? And I'm like, okay, that's relatively easy. Okay. Because what you do is you check your chart and you believe when you see Bitcoin or Ethereum and you're holding Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now, this is not a hodl scenario. This was coming from a person who wants to trade weekly and profit from the moves in the market, okay? In his Coinbase account, okay? And so, which is different than obviously Femex, Bityard, Bex Plus, Margex, leverage trading, okay? Which a lot of us, and a lot of people, Binance, you name it, okay? But you certainly can exit Bitcoin. Like, for example, if he exited Bitcoin at 68,000, he would have been exiting in the zone of the top at a high level RSI. And now Bitcoin is now falling back down in a week and a half to an RSI level of below 30. Trading below, today was trading below 60,000. Could have re-entered, right? Tomorrow, if he re-enters today at say he entered today at 60,000, RSI was 30. Okay. He wakes up on, today's Tuesday, Thursday or Friday, Bitcoin is 63 or 64,000. The RSI is above the average of Bitcoin over the last 10 days or 30 days. He can exit, take the profit, wait for Bitcoin to fall back down again. Or, right, if we're leverage traders and we use the RSI QRT method, we immediately enter a sell down. You're not going to do that on Coinbase, okay? But you can only do your, long. I look at it like long trading. You're only going to be buying up and selling and then waiting and buying again and selling, okay? But if you're on a leverage exchange, you can buy sell downs, which are nothing the equivalent of shorts. You're shorting the crypto. And I always tell people, it's like, as soon as someone tells me I had a profitable trade, they're like, man, I had 300%, 347% on my Ethereum trade. I got out at 4,600. I'm pretty stoked. My first question to that trader is always, did you buy a sell down? They're like, what do you, no, I was buy up. Right, but immediately when you sold that, why didn't you buy a sell down? And people get taken back. They're like, well, I don't understand what you mean. It's like, well, there was a reason why you sold that crypto. Why did you sell at 4,600? Well, the RSI got to be like 82, 83, and I just kind of felt like it was going to go down and didn't think it was sustainable. And so I was in the money and I just wanted to take profit. Perfect. The very reason why you exited that trade is the very reason why you should have bought a sell down trade. And sure enough, this individual, opportunity cost. Okay. And I talked to him this morning. Okay. And he was just like, I totally get it now. Didn't really understand what you were saying until I actually saw the market mirror what you were saying. And it was like, exactly. You got out of a high level overbought scenario. You could have let it, the FOMO kicked in. People bid Ethereum up to above 85. I think it got to 90. RSI, that's an overbought condition. You took profits. But if you're taking profits because you don't think it's going to go any higher, there's where you use your sell down. Or at the very least, keep your long open and buy a sell down as a hedge, okay, against a backlash or a backdraft in the market. That's how you profit, mates. Like that's really all it is. For the very same reason that you took profits, you should be then applying that to saying, okay, I believe it's overbought. I'm going to buy a sell down. Now, when you buy that sell down, you don't need to use the same leverage that you used when you did the buy up. It could be just simply a small trade, 1x, 3x, 5x. It does not have to be 10x, 25x, and certainly doesn't have to be 50x. Okay. But I will tell you, again, you need to do your own due diligence. And if you're not being coached and being mentored by me, okay, you need to understand that none of this is risk averse. Okay. But for me personally, if I see RSI 95, I will use my max leverage every single time. Because how long is it going to stay at an overbought relative strength index level indicator of 95? It's just not. It's going to go down. I can't tell you how much it's going to go down, but I can find my average of the last 10 days, and it almost always goes down to that average and then bounces again. So you're looking at from Bitcoin's average is 52 to 55 on its RSI, and you're at 95. That's a 40-point drop. That's going to be a massive trade. And so I know based on that behavior, we're overbought or we're oversold. That's when I'll use higher level of leverage because the risk is greater, but the reward is also greater. Okay. But you need to understand what your liquidation level is. You need to understand that the higher leverage that you're using, the narrower your liquidation level is to the value. You need to be able to understand that. But that's how I personally look at it. And this is how I'm looking at it today with Chinese FUD. When these things are all falling, these altcoins are all falling below RSI 30, okay? Bitcoin Cash, the hard forks, jumped on the hard forks. Why? Because when Bitcoin recovers, the hard forks are going to cover correlated to Bitcoin. And this is what I tell people all the time, and it baffles some people, is if you believe Bitcoin is going to go to 80,000 by the end of the year, okay? This is all throughout the year I've been telling people this, okay? You think Bitcoin's going to go to 80,000, okay? Or 100,000. We're just going to say this bull cycle, okay? Remember when people were telling us the bull cycle was over during the summer? Yeah, they were wrong, okay? So we think that Bitcoin's going to get between 80 and 100. There are people who have 120, okay? So whatever that number is, if you believe that and you're a hodler of Bitcoin, and this is what you believe, what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin Cash? Bitcoin Cash ABC? Bitcoin Silver? Bitcoin Gold? Now, they're not going to go to 80,000 or 100,000 or 120,000, right? No. What they're going to go to is in correlated move with Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes up 2, 3, 4%, Bitcoin Cash goes up 8, 9, or 10%. Just look at the last 2 weeks. Okay. If it goes down 2, 3%, Bitcoin Cash goes down 6, 7, 8, 9%. Just look at the chart. Okay. They're correlated. They are hard forks of Bitcoin. Whether you're a developer or not, whether you have any angst against the forks or not, or the movements that brought about those forks, okay? And a lot of people do. Ethereum Classic from Ethereum, same way, okay? I put that aside. I have my own opinions on that stuff, but I put it aside because it's a trade, okay? And you will make more profit playing the behavior of Bitcoin without ever owning Bitcoin. You never need to own a single Bitcoin in order to profit from Bitcoin. You simply need to know what Bitcoin's behavior is, because you can apply that to its hard forks, which are valued at less than $100, less than $200, less today, $600 for Bitcoin Cash. Okay. So Bitcoin got to 58,000 channel. Bitcoin Cash fell below 600 to about 575. Then Bitcoin recovered to 60,700. And at that time, Bitcoin Cash had recovered to 622. See the move? Now, which move would you have made more money profitability-wise off of? Off the same amount of money invested? Bitcoin Cash. Because the percentages, you're dealing with an asset valued much lower, but is moving percentagely higher, much higher, in tandem or correlated with Bitcoin. And so that's what you're going to witness today, mates. And I'm just telling you that. I know I don't do enough of these. I know, but I just want to give everybody a little where my head's at with China FUD, what I'm seeing with the RSI, MACD. Look for those crosses on your MACD as well today. Look for that. Use your watch list. Look for those things. One thing I will point out that I'm kind of surprised about, and I'm not sure just yet, haven't made a call on it yet, but Solana today did not fall below that 30 level RSI, at least as of 10 a.m. it had not. That could be very bullish for Solana. It got down below around 214, bounced back to like 222, 224. That's a support zone. If you look at the chart, the technical analytics, that's a massive support zone that it fell below and then came back above. Okay. That may be, an opportunity for the next move for Solana. I'm going to take a look at that this afternoon. I will do a video specifically on Solana. I just think that when those things happen like that, when the rest of the market is falling below, and then you have something like Solana, which has obviously had a meteoric rise in 2021, especially a lot of those guys, a lot of people in our group that got in Solana below $10, and it's now, like I said, just had a meteoric rise and along with Avalanche, AVAX, in 2021. But I'll do a video on Solana specifically. I've already got one in the one in the can for Bitcoin Cash today with that entry point at around 582 using the RSI momentum indicator. But this is what you want to do today. This is I consider this to be an opportunity day. Altcoin Tuesday meets China FUD opportunity because of what's happening in the market. And you've got to have that, 7 to 10 day outlook. Okay. Once the market processes, what does this really mean? What did they really say? They didn't really say anything, mates. Do you really think, ask yourself, do you really think China cares about the environment? Look at their history. They didn't even go to the summit. Okay. The world summit on the world stage. They didn't even go. No emissaries, nothing. And Joe Biden has a phone conversation with China 24 hours ago. Okay. You telling me that this isn't coming after that phone conversation, that they're not trying to help Joe Biden save face because they didn't go to a global summit, and that people here in the States are now in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party in the United States of America are pushing global climate change on Joe Biden? That, what about China? What about China? Think there's a coincidence there? Because I don't. I think that's exactly what happened in the last 24 hours. And China puts out what they always do, a statement from the state planner that they're going to look into and they're going to crack down on virtual mining, on Bitcoin mine. They have been all year long. There's nothing different. They've been cracking down since spring. Okay. And thousands of miners have left. Okay. That were operating. I'm talking about businesses that were operating in China for the sole purposes of Bitcoin mining have left. Okay. We're not talking about Chinese nationals. We're talking about companies. Okay. They've left. So again, 7 to 10 days, I think we'll be looking back and not even really talking about it. I mean, that's my opinion. You need to do your own due diligence, obviously. Again, about 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here. Hope everybody has a great day. Hope everybody takes advantage of what's happening in the market today and understand that it's political nonsense. It's political maneuvering. If you're from the country, you call it shenanigans. Okay, that's what you call it. Okay, and that's what's really happening. And so while they're shaking everybody out of the market, watch what the institutions do with Bitcoin and Ethereum. The other altcoins, to a lesser extent, it can happen, but I'm just saying, watch what happens to Bitcoin and Ethereum today and into tomorrow, and look at what the size transactions of active addresses for Bitcoin to determine what the institution reaction was okay, in terms of size of blocks buying versus size of blocks selling on the blockchain. And that will give you a good indication of what the real story is behind today's China FUD. All right, mates. Hope everybody has a great day. I will see you on the other side.